We are once again into picks and bans now in the second game as TSM won the first one, and it was some great roams by Bjergsen, helping out the fact that his team was winning elsewhere on the map. And now, as we get into picks and bans, you saw Cloud9 cared a lot about Sivir. They picked it first round last game. Now they're banning it out. TSM not allowed to play this utility. And no Vladimir allowed for Jensen. TSM giving it respect.
Right, I think hopefully C9 ends up in the situation where it's 2 OP bans on red side and 1 on blue. I think that'd be pretty favorable for them. I hope they end up in that situation, but they might not.
I really want C9 to be in a situation where TSM just gives them Rek'Sai. If C9 can get the first pick Rek'Sai, I feel like that's their most comfortable position, and that's exactly where I want to see them.
The other thing that scares me a little bit is that Hauntzer has a lot of unconventional, well, not really a lot, he has Swain. And Swain makes it really hard to pick your top laner early, and we saw that C9 lost side lanes to counter picks when they were red side, and now that TSM has the counter picks arguably, it's really scary for Impact to early pick anything.
Right.
And that might just give TSM exactly what they want and maybe an early Trundle or Aurelia or something.
And if they want to counter, they get it anyway, right?
I'm surprised TSM is focusing so much on mid lane bans. Like, if the third ban is Azir, then they've effectively banned 3 OP picks. More than likely, the third ban is going to be Rek'Sai. And if that's the case, does C9 just first pick Azir? Maybe.
Cassiopeia and Azir so far up from champions that were both banned previously in this series. So, I mean, one of those 3 champions stays up. But no, it's actually Cloud9 still banning the Rek'Sai themselves, which again leaves up the Azir Cassiopeia pinch.
I actually think C9 may just go to Graves, because C9 loves Graves right now, and they're like a very Graves-prone team. And yes, TSM does ban 3 mid laners.
So they're bartering what? You're saying Graves and Cassiopeia?
I don't think they really care about Cassio. I think the priority is going to go to Braum, and priority is going to go to maybe a jungle pick.
It's a little interesting though, because you basically made TSM's last ban a lot easier. I think there might have been some concerns on TSM. Well, I'm sure TSM knew what they wanted to do, but for me, it'd be, do you ban the Rek'Sai or the Azir? With the Rek'Sai out, it's obvious you ban the Azir. But I guess that gives them the Braum, like SCARA was saying, so it might work out in the end.
Yeah, well, you guys mentioned getting Biofrost off of the tank, and it was actually a Karma ban into a first pick. Braum set that situation up, so very interesting. That was the play actually that C9 went for, Bunny Fufu on a tank. And
that leaves TSM with 1 top tier support left. It's Bard. So I think Bard's more reasonable to play against than Braum, especially if they're going to be getting like Nidalee jungle.
Yeah, you're right, because you mentioned the fact that you need a tank somewhere. You're seeing Hauntzer, however, the Maokai, probably not going to get picked just yet, but yeah, might have to change up quite a few things in their lineup then.
With this many mid lane ban, like all the S tier picks are out the window, and essentially you're left with Cassio, which is like pretty good. I don't even consider her super S tier.
Yeah,
she's good, but
yeah, she's very good into specific comp specific champions. Oh, and maybe they just lock in Cass.
Well, I mean, you're basically picking between Cassio, Victor, and then a more utility based one,
right?
Like
Talia,
a TF in there somewhere or something.
What about Talia?
I mean, we're seeing it hovered.
No, I don't.
No
think
Bjergsen Talia yet.
Jensen, I don't know if Jensen will be able to play it. Like, I think it's a champion that requires a lot of games played. I don't know how much Jensen's put in, but I know Bjergsen's put in the time, because his match history on solo queue actually is only Talia right now.
Since we're the mid lane stream, I want to talk a little bit about why you don't think Cassio is quite S tier, because for me, one thing that separates the S tiers from the others is that they all have like a pretty strong defensive option, where Ryze has his big shield and his speed up, Vlad has his pool, Azir has his shuffle, and Cassio really doesn't have anything to match that. And so that's one of the big things, is all of them put out crazy damage, but they all have pretty good defensive options, where I feel like a Cassio in lane is like, cleanse, I need cleanse, whereas you don't really see any of the other 3 take cleanse, unless maybe the Azir does. But
I just think she just lacks something, you know? I look at the other S tier champions, I'm like, if I blind pick them, I'm completely comfortable in any position. Whereas Cassio, if I blind pick, first pick Cassio, I don't know necessarily if I like it that much. Like, I think first rotation on
red side
is okay, but first picking on blue side, I don't think anyone would really do that, because she's really good into specific champion pick stuff that want to gap close but can't get knocked out, and their initiation isn't like immediate. It's like they run up to you. Cassio's great at stopping that, but in some situations, I feel like it's really easy to catch her out with stuff like Bard, with things that just catch out the mobile champions ganks, like Gragas ganks, for instance. Like, if you thought that it's easy to gank Ryze last game, so wait till Meteos does work on this Cassio.
Right, I think that's kind of what I was saying. Is where I feel like you can build a comp around Cassio to stop her, whereas the other ones, because of just how...
What are you going to do to an Azir?
Yeah, right.
He does everything.
They're so complete that you can't really just pick a couple things that deal with it. Whereas if you early pick the Cassio, you can pick a ganking jungler and then some catch potential, like a Jhin.
And I love
Is that what
this.
you're seeing?
Yeah, and I love this comp from C9. Like, not only do they have catch potential, like CC, they're able to forced TSM to pick more tanky pick like Elise. And it's not Nidalee, it's not a huge skirmish, scrappy 1v1 jungle. I don't think you can pick Nidalee Bard. I think it's really difficult to be able to run that kind of team comp. And so I like this jungle matchup. I think C9 will do a lot better this game.
The one thing I'll say, though, is that Cassio does do extremely well into all the other A-tier picks, and even the S-tier picks. That's why she's so relevant. And it's a champion that has crazy damage potential, so if Bjergsen goes a little unchecked and they're not able to pressure him the way that they hopefully want to, then they could end up getting punished really hard by him. And I can see Bjergsen taking over the game, but not quite as much on the Rise because that roaming potential is a lot lower on the Cassio.
And remember our last game, they didn't have much initiation potential. They only had Meteos. This game, they have Jhin as well, and I think that adds another dimension. Like the ability to get a pick on a mobile target from 1,500 range is really, really nice. And that's going to be something that is going to be pressuring Bjergsen the entire game.
Well, they lose the Sivir speed up, but they trade out a Soraka for a Braum. So yeah, C9 able to get into that backline a little bit easier here. And now the final pick for TSM, they need themselves a top laner. So you mentioned that this comp from C9 is scary enough that Bjergsen is under threat. Jensen gets pretty much a tried and true, pretty safe Viktor pick for himself. Anything you're kind of looking out for interaction-wise with Viktor, either with his team or against TSM?
Well, I would have initially been scared about just like at 6 ults coming Bjergsen's way, because Gragas can flash and body slam and then alter in. Jhin can even just roam up if they ever get the push on and start ulting at the whole lane. But what's interesting is TSM picks a more defensive top laner here in the Shen instead of the Aurelia. They could have opted into the same matchup again and looked to pressure it, but instead Shen Gnar isn't really like a super counter pick. It isn't until a couple items that Gnar really pressures the Shen. So I think it's interesting that they probably picked that for the defensive options on the Cassio and the shorter range Lucian.
Yeah, I think they realized that they just didn't have the front line and taking it that they wanted out of a good team comp, and they substituted that with top lane. Like if he took Aurelia, sure, he could win the matchup, but then when it goes to the mid game, like it looks
Aurelia
really
and
hard.
Elise don't seem that durable.
Yeah, it's like the entire comp revolves around Elise and Bard pick, and they pick someone instantly and take the 4v5.
Right, and you're getting poked out by Viktor and Jhin, and then you're always threatened by like a Braum ulti.
Yes, exactly. And I think that
that Braum pick you talked about was huge, because taking that one of pretty much the only strong tank in the support position away forced probably that change in the top lane matchup as well.
What's interesting is actually win rate wise, Leona skyrocketed 613. Her stun is longer and it's longer range. Her root goes longer. Do you think any teams actually like realize like Leona got super buff in 613?
I think they have, but in competitive, it's a lot different. Like I feel like Leona is so one-dimensional in that she has to go in. Both teams have to play around the Leona. If the jungler is there and you go in Leona, you just lose. And so your jungler has to be there, their jungler has to be there, and I feel like it's just not a great pick. Like there's a lot of situations where she's not good. Okay. Whereas Karma is good all the time.
In all situations.
And even to other tanks, like they have other options. Like a Braum can just shoot a Q out, or he can just ult, and Alistair can do the same thing where he just headbutts a threat away. Leona, to get a threat off her is very difficult.
And Leona loses to all the top lane range supports right now. Like she has to all in to win the matchups, but without all in, she just loses straight up.
Yeah, very, very binary, where either you get the picks and she snowballs really hard, or she gets crushed.
And I actually love that C9's playing Jhin. I feel like all these teams picked up Jhin, and I was just like, Sneaky's the original Jhin.
Yeah, he's the OG Jhin.
He's the best Jhin when no one's playing Jhin. So now that they have Jhin, I really like their team comp this game. They have the range to be able to deal with Cassio, and that's, I feel like, what makes her not a super great pick is because like she can't cover the very, very long ranges like someone like Viktor or Azir can.
Okay, so we know that Cloud9 can attack Bjergsen. Right now we're seeing Jensen help with the invade as they put a Trinket Ward over Gromp. And he's on one of those, I guess we'll call him an A-tier mid laner, right? Like you don't see him in every single game, but he's a popular pick. Viktor's here, no one's surprised. Jensen's even bringing Cleanse to make sure he's not dying to a Flash Cocoon or a Taunt Flash, it looks like.
Yeah, the Flash Cocoon's a huge threat early on, because if that lands, Cassio just brings so much burn damage and chase potential with the speed up and all that on our Qs. So I think it's pretty smart for them to take Cleanse there.
And I think that them having Bard against Viktor, even if he does have Cleanse, it's still really, really nice and really hard for Viktor to play against Bard. Bard is just such a great champion at catching out all of these mid lane picks, except for something like maybe Azir, who can get away really easily with E. Everyone else is susceptible to getting ulted by Bard and just dying instantly.
We're seeing a very different setup at level 1. Last game, you were seeing Bjergsen hide behind a wall, afraid of the first Vladimir Q. These two are actually much more evenly matched in their stancing at the start of the laning phase.
Well, I think Cassio, I wouldn't say wins this matchup, but has a lot more power early and like ability to harass, whereas like the Ryze doesn't seriously do that, especially against the Vlad who has so much to stake.
The biggest thing is Jensen can't ever Q, because Cassio's actually used to start Q, now they all start E. And so if you Q, that's 8 seconds or 7, 9 seconds where you can't do any damage. So if he Qs, Bjergsen will just walk up and just E him. He can just E him non-stop and do like 300 damage.
And you're seeing the Q even lands right there, so E would do bonus damage if you hit him. But it's just the poke. And yeah, for those who don't know, if you last hit with Twin Fang, it refunds the entire mana cost, and its cooldown is only a second. It gets lower over time, so Bjergsen shouldn't have too many issues controlling the lane. Perfect CS so far.
Yeah, get the shove early, see how well Jensen CS is under turret. I think he should be able to get all those pretty much.
And look at Bjergsen's pressure. He already walks in, tries to find the jungler on the first shove. And he loses 1 CS for it, but it's a lot of effort to be able to mess with Meteos.
Not even. Bjergsen got them all. Bjergsen lost literally nothing for that.
I mean, that's just kind of how TSM plays. It's like this low risk, medium reward style where they're willing to like give up, you know, a CS, a positioning in lane a little bit maybe to potentially get a roam off or a pick or just control the jungle better. So I think that's something that TSM does super well.
This is really interesting. Elise is actually running in at 3.
I think she already cleared her buff. She just did 3 camps, right? She just
looks like 3 in the duo lane took Gromp, yeah.
Yeah, so she did the Golem's red-blue invade.
Yeah.
But she's not really going to get a ton off of it because Gragas already cleared a lot of those camps away.
I think TSM has really noticed that Meteos does a lot of one-side clears. So he'll get like 3 camps and a big buff and try to gank a lot with Gragas. He did it last game, couldn't find it, and then he was late to red and lost red.
Yep.
And then this game he did one side on whatchamacallit, red side.
Yeah.
And Sven went in trying to maybe contest the red, but wasn't able to find anything.
Yep, Trinket Ward came down, camp was already gone, nothing to be gained right there.
I know we're focusing on mid lane, but bot lane actually just zoned C9's bot lane completely off the wave, and they're like almost diving in between 2 turrets at 4 minutes. And they did, apparently. They did get the dive off.
Jeez.
That's just so much pressure. Shen TP down. This is kind of that situation we're talking about where once TSM starts winning on the rest of the map, the pressure is going to be really alleviated off of Bjergsen, who can just play as aggressively as he wants to, and that's something that Cassio will do really well. You'll see, I think, a little less roaming out of Bjerg this game, and maybe a little bit more harass on your turret and things like that.
And we're seeing actually neither of these mid laners are bringing teleport. I know Cassio's not normally a teleport bringer. You were mentioning Cleanse earlier as like a defensive option to keep him alive, but you want to talk about more about the summoner choices for these players, because both of them have switched, basically.
Heal kind of functions as both a little bit offensive and defensive. The move speed is something that Cassio really enjoys, being able to chase down with her Twin Fangs just constantly going off, and it's better than what you would often see out of mid laners with Barrier, just because she doesn't ever really need to stop casting spells. So I think that's why you see Heal as opposed to the Barrier as a defensive option. And Ignite, I mean, you can take it sometimes, but I think that's a little too lane focused.
I think the way you should see Ignite is if you're an assassin who does 1 rotation and expects to kill the other player, you should take Ignite. Okay. But for a lot of the A, S tier picks, they take Heal, they take Barrier, they take Ghost, because they can do very high amounts of consistent damage. You think of Azir, even Viktor, you'll see Viktor be able to consistently with CDR, Q up, walk up, E, Q, ulti, stuff like that. So if they can do consistent damage, you shouldn't be taking Ignite. It's just not worth it. It's better to keep you alive to do more rotations, so you compensate for your lack of damage or lack of Ignite by doing more rotations of your spells.
Yeah, I mean, the only option you really see is an Exhaust versus an Assassin, but like we just said, Assassins aren't super in the meta, so you don't see as much Exhaust.
Right there was really good by Bjergsen. While you guys were all talking about that, Jensen backed from the cannon wave, and Bjergsen just froze it. And he was able to get like 5-6 CS lead off just doing that, because usually what happens is you back on the cannon wave, but you don't back after, because if he tried to back after, Bjergsen was just able to walk up and freeze the wave right there, and he froze at a very dangerous spot for Jensen. And if the tower didn't hit the creep, he would have actually frozen for longer.
I mean, we actually see TSM proxying the wave on this roam to be able to get this gank off onto Impact. I didn't think he'd be roaming this much, but once again, Bjergsen's out of lane and helped to pick up a kill with Sven.
And that was great. You know, he sets up the slow push mid lane. He knows it's not freezing, so as soon as he slow pushes into tower, him and Sven just go top lane and get a free kill. That was played so well.
I think one thing that you were pointing about the freeze is something that Bjergsen does better than anybody else in the mid lane position. Like, the amount of times I've seen mid laners just need to call their jungle to help or to just eat a CS deficit because they can't do anything about it. He manipulates the wave so well, and he puts himself in a position to not only generate a lead while it's frozen, but to try and use it once it unfreezes to get something done there, like the dive top.
I think he's the person who understands his champion strengths very, very well, and especially can play around the map.
Yeah, I just don't see anyone else, because other people will do these things well, but the consistency in which every game you see Bjergsen do something that on a macro level is so intelligent.
Every game, perfect decisions.
Right, it's like, okay, I mean, he dies every now and then, but for the most part, it's that teamwork, you know, I'm building a wave, Sven, I'll be able to move in 30 seconds. Like, the pre-understanding of what's going to happen.
And the thing is, if I'm like, you know, gold 3 mid laner, I watch this game like, oh, cool, he roamed top. But it's so hard to like appreciate all the reasons why it worked out, like in game state, in teammate state, the communication required. Like, it's multiple levels above most players' understanding.
And that could, honestly, that play could have just been really, really good team synergy by TSM. For instance, what I'd like to see is, as, you know, they're making a play top side, C9 decides to make a bot side play, because Jensen went lane priority, so he just shoves in mid lane and rotates bot with Meteos. But unfortunately, Jensen just ended up backing and going to shop. So maybe it's because Meteos wasn't in the right position, so they weren't able to do that. But at least they're making a great play on the enemy blue.
Yeah, that's nice.
They see Sven's top side on their wards in their own jungle, so they're able to go for a blue invade here. I'm not sure when C9 took theirs, but it doesn't look like it's coming up, so there won't be any blue trade.
One of the hardest things is, though, actually, I forgot, is they can't make the bot dive very easily because the opposing team has Shen. They tried the 4-man dive and Shen pops out under tower, they may just lose the game right there.
Well, it looks like that's exactly what kind of just happened. They first forced an ult out of monsters there, but it doesn't look like anyone was that in danger, and now the rest of TSM's collapsing.
Now they're roaming down, a flash forced out. It looks like Bunny had to get away.
This is great for C9. They're able to pick up all the CS in both lanes, and luckily for TSM, this is an Infernal Drake, so they're able to get something good off of it. But if this wasn't, if this was like Cloud or Ocean, I would say C9 came out pretty far ahead there.
I will argue that only Cassio and Lucian actually benefit from this Drake, though. No one else has really any combat stats to speak of.
I bet Sven will build a little bit more.
You think he'll go more AP?
He'll probably go like a Rylai's.
He typically goes Proto Belt on Elise.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's actually hilarious.
Yeah, and they often go Rylai's off the Luden's Echo, so they get the AoE slow proc with the spiraling.
Okay, so 3 of the 5. So that's one thing, though. You talked earlier about those Drakes scale with game time and stuff, and Cloud Drake doesn't scale. Everyone actually benefits from Cloud Drake. Not everyone, like, what's Shen care about 6 AD?
I honestly think the best Drake is Mountain, or the Drake that
late game Mountain Drake is the best. 100% agree.
Yeah.
The Drake that shifts the game how it's played the most is Mountain for sure.
Okay,
Any team with double Mountain can blow Baron in 15 seconds.
Right.
So you can have to respect Mountain so much more than anything else.
I mean, yeah, it's a game of seconds really, and just the difference between it taking 10 seconds versus 12 is massive.
I agree completely.
Okay, so what I would like Jensen to do here is, top lane doesn't have ulti, doesn't have TP. I want to see a bot lane play with his team. Set up a TP play with impact. Maybe he doesn't have to do it. At least him, top lane and Meteos can do it, or something should happen to where they should abuse the fact that they're behind or ahead on TP pressure.
Well, a lot of layered CC. Can they find anything to happen? Meteos is locked up, but no, gets away.
And there, we'll just talk about Jensen. Like, mechanically, he always plays fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, getting out of that taunt flash is the only thing that kept him alive and allowed them to turn that for a kill. I mean, it was good TP as well by Impact, but if he gets chained up there, they lose the damage, and they also give up a kill to TSM.
And while he still does have cleanse, I respect the flash. I think he just wanted to put himself in a better position in the first place.
Right, getting further under your turret and being able in range to still damage the rest of the enemy team. I mean, that's exactly what you were just saying. That's what we mean when we always say you can put Jensen in a situation, he'll almost always play it perfect. But
he actually has highlight reels where he just dodges every skill shot the enemy throws at it. And it's great. Like, no one else has that but him.
So once again, just tell me what Jensen's doing in every situation right here.
Well, so he gets the stun onto Cassio, gets a little harassed down. He's done a pretty good job of just trading, like getting small favorable trades. And this is just the kind of thing where everybody's kind of collapsing at the same time. And
right there, he got all the poke necessary to win the trade. Like, he already, and Bjergsen's trying to bait for this, but that just doesn't work out well.
Yeah, and just winning the trade, making it a little bit harder for the rest of the team to engage in. We're like, Cassio's stunned now, he's not forcing the trade as hard as they want to. Oh,
Bjergsen picks him off.
Well, there's a kill back.
Score 1 TSM, score 3 TSM, I suppose.
It's just really hard to respect Shen ulti. Shen is really high priority, especially in NA right now. And I can understand why. It's just so easy to play a map when you have Shen, because you just add an extra player to all of your plays.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a little handicap where like it's oh we're 3v3 and now we're not, we're 4v3.
Yeah, and it's like bad players can use that, bad teams can use it as a handicap, and good teams can just use it as an advantage.
Right.
And so it's not like, regardless if you're a good team or like a bad team, Shen is still a great pick for you guys.
Do you think that actually is impacting how Jensen and Bjergsen are playing the mid lane specifically, or is it just an overall thing?
It's something that Jensen can't ever all in. It's something he needs to know that like, unless he is 100% sure that the Shen ult's down like right now, but he's not really in a position all in. But even if he gets ahead, he really needs to be super conscious of that.
I think it's more that it impacts Meteos' decisions, because he knows that if he ganks mid or bot lane, he's going to have to deal with the Shen. So Pressure should try to go top lane, and he should... honestly, they should try to make a 3-man play top lane, if possible, to be able to just kill Shen and force his subs.
We get to watch the Bjergsen kill now, as Meteos was it looks like a bit too aggressive in this jungle.
Yeah, it looks like he was just kind of caught out of position. He knows his bot lane is able to move because they have the thing pushed in, but he's just a step ahead of the rest of his team, and Bunny is the one who pays for it.
Yeah, good slowing ulti, and then Bjergsen got the W slow as well. I also want to point out he chose to walk over to the right instead of down to cut off because he knows the rest of C9 is down on that river, so he chooses the safe route into his team.
Right. I mean, one thing I want to touch on is something we were talking about earlier, which is just like the wave manipulation and being able to communicate what's going to happen. A lot of people in this game, when you go and listen to like pro communication even, not just average players, is that they're not very predictive. They'll say what's happening, I see this guy here, we can do this, but there's not many people who are saying in 30 seconds this wave is going to crash, what can we do with it? And just being able to give your team that window and start formulating a plan that much earlier in advance is really what allows the top teams to perform these what seemingly are mundane plays where they're roaming top, but
yeah,
it's the fact that their players think a step ahead.
And every wave gets punished. Every single time a double wave crashes into tier 2 turret, jungle mid laner there.
Right, and it's just a communication thing, and it's almost like a snowball effect where like once one person's thinking ahead, you can start thinking ahead as well. So if Bjergsen says, I'm freezing and I'm gonna have a wave pushed in a minute, what can we do with it? Then someone else can say that.
Pretty quick cleanse, Bard ulti, turns off the turret, and good luck, Jensen.
Yeah, just so much pressure from the rest of his team collapsing in. They kind of sack a lot bottom to get this done, but breaking this mid turret is going to allow them to take over a lot more of the jungle.
Once again, Bjergsen having lane priority here. This is both games, by the way, where Bjergsen is seemingly pushing more frequently. Is this matchup, or is this Jensen failing to push things that he should be?
I think it's...
Or something else.
I think
it all depended on that one time where Jensen backed, I think, a little bit behind. So he backed on the cannon wave instead of before the cannon wave, and which caused the freeze. Bjergsen worked with the freeze to snowball top lane, and then on the way back, Jensen wasn't able to get anything but the back. And so because of that small lead, you know, Bjergsen gets a lead for his team, and his team has Shen. So now Jensen's options are very limited outside of just clearing the mid wave till team fights.
Solo kill top lane from Impact onto Hauntzer. Looked like Hauntzer might have overstayed and didn't expect Impact to go on him.
Oh, I'm really surprised it happened, because usually those kind of kills will only happen with like a frozen mallet. Because it's really hard to get away from frozen mallet, where just cleaver, that's a big surprise for me.
Impact turned Mega Gnar. I mean, I think Hauntzer got him low and tried to take the fight, because like no one burns flash or anything. It was like a miscalculation.
I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, sneaky kills double. It looks like
okay, so C9's getting back in.
Yeah, they're picking up a lot of kills on the rest of the map. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they can get any objectives off of it, which really would have been the big thing for them.
And in this case, neither mid lane is part of it. They're actually stuck in the mid lane dealing with minion waves. Bjergsen's moving now, but they're actually both basically slaves to the minion waves.
But
not,
look at this. Bjerg's moving with Sven to get control of that side of the jungle. That's such good play to be able to make, and he's not even going to do anything here. He's going to walk up and be like, oh, there's a pink ward, I'm just going to have to go back.
I mean, they're going to try and pressure this turret and hopefully take it, but the rest of C9 is not in a position to do anything about it. They're going to maybe trade the second tier turret or at worst get the ocean
and look, in exchange, Jensen just backs mid lane, so he's not the one pushing up mid. And
yeah, like Bjerg just like let mid lane stay where it is and nothing happened to it.
Yeah, but maybe Jensen was low on mana. I wasn't exactly watching his stats there, but I'm just pointing out how much Bjergsen does for his team in terms of being able to control the map.
And he lost 2 CS. He walked all the way to top tier 2, made sure it went down, lost 2 CS.
I mean, there's clips where Bjergsen will just take a whole, little lap around the jungle and come back to a wave push into his turret. And he's totally fine with it because of the opportunities it presents his team, not just what it actually does. So there, they get a turret, but sometimes he gets nothing. But he's constantly putting himself in positions to get something.
And it feels like Jensen's not punishing this at all. He wasn't in the wave to push it down. You mentioned he might have been out of mana. I didn't see myself either, but it feels like there's just a significant difference in productivity. And I know you guys said at the beginning that
the thing is, it's like he knows Elise is off the map, and then if Cassio disappears, him pushing up means that he might be afraid that Elise just kills him. He doesn't have cleanse. If he gets hit with Cocoon, he just dies. So I can respect that him being afraid of it. However, I would still like him to hug right side, shove it in, and maybe look to go bot side, or you know, back after he shoves it in, so he makes mid lane miss something.
Looks like he's trying now.
I mean, it's especially good now that they basically split the map a little bit where they have more vision control bottom. But this is something that TSM does really well. They're fighting for vision. They're not just sacking that side. Look at the, like, assume that both teams swapped evenly. TSM's topside jungle that they've taken from C9 is still completely theirs. Whereas on the other side, TSM has contested C9's vision, and there's an equal amount of wards on that side. That's something that TSM does really well.
Yeah, and like I said before, like I think C9 depends a lot on their vision control and their support. And if their support's not able to ward out, they're not really getting that much vision out. However, look at TSM. They have 11, 12 wards on the map on both sides of the map. So they're able to maintain high vision control even without their support.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Hauntzer once just about his ward, and I think he has the highest warding stats of any top laner. And I was asking, you know, like, this is something you put more focus on? He's like, not really. I just place it whenever it's up, and it's weird to me that other people don't. That was his explanation for why his warding stats are so good. It's just like, I just ward all the time.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, right? You're never going to buy a sight stun up there. Your trinkets work all the same way. Maybe he gives pinks up better.
I mean, I'm
like
sure he buys
it, right?
a lot of pinks, but he was just saying that he'll just spam that thing every time he can.
Yeah, and he stays on yellow trinket typically, which will give you more eventually.
There's TSM just controlling bot side jungle as a team. They're going to push this in. They're going to swap up the top side, take the blue buff away.
And now top lane's dead because they were able to not only get bot side control, they got top side control, and they can cut off Gnar.
And it all starts...
Gnar has to TP out or else he dies here.
Yeah, it all starts from that mid lane tier too. That's why TSM was willing to sack bot side to try and get something done top side.
Oh.
He escapes barely impact.
I thought they were going to cut through the other way.
They could have cut down.
Blue.
Yeah, but it looks like they just want to secure blue buff, which is okay. You know, I just expected like an actual flash blown or a dead Gnar.
I mean, that's kind of what we were saying though, with just the fact that they're willing to take low risk, medium reward. Like taking blue buff away is really good. The kill would be better. They're not going to overextend for it. They don't want to overchase top lane, and maybe C9 can trade mid. So going for the smaller objective. And here, they're going for a chase down. Doesn't look like it's going to connect though. But yeah, just going for the blue buff, being able to make it back in time for mid so that C9 really can't pressure it, I think is a big thing.
And don't get me wrong, taking blue buff is great. Like, if you're the mid laner without blue buff, you tend to lose lane because you're not able to shove as much as the other mid laner.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've just seen out of Bjergsen in both games, is just his willingness to shove and how he takes that. I think both times he's had a matchup that's a little bit more favorable for him shoving, but it's something where like some people just aren't willing to put themselves in a position where they're a little extended. They want to play safe. They don't want to get ganked. Bjergsen got ganked. He received some ganks just trying to pressure the wave, right. But he understands how much he can get off it as well.
Oh, I want to talk a little bit about this matchup. So typically, the way Viktor matchups go is that if he lands his laser enough, he can just look for the all-in or the other person has the back. However, the reason why Cassio is actually a strong pick is because against Azir, against Viktor, she actually has sustain. Because if she hits a poison target with E, she heals. So because of that, it's never possible to poke down a mid lane Cassio, especially if she has blue buff. So her having blue buff means she's essentially unmovable from lane.
Infinite resource bars at all times.
Absolutely.
Well, rough stuff right here. And I know you mentioned a little bit about it. Bjergsen's matchup's a little bit better for this one. The fact that he doesn't really care that he might get ganked. He did so in game 1 a little bit. Is this something that people can actually like abuse, this tendency that Bjergsen's going to push up and run around?
C9 tried to abuse it the first game. I thought they did a great job. You know, I just thought that they ended up losing both side lanes because of it, and they weren't able to maintain any jungle control. So when you have 4 losing positions and 1 that's doing well, like, you just can't do anything with it.
And TSM's not blind with it. I think sometimes teams hear that, oh, push and roam, and they think that's all they want to do, but they're not as conscious of the right times to do it. So Bjergsen early always has good wards. He's always really aware of where the jungler is. He gets his wards down early. Both games we saw that. He went kind of into the other team's jungle side to get that ward or get vision information. And then once he has it, he's more freed up. And so it's not this totally blind push and roam thing. He'll freeze at times. It's just a combination of all the little things coming together.
And I think, just like we talked about, Elise did go pro about this game. So it's actually super funny. She can probably just one-hit the AD at any point during the game. She does a lot of damage.
Well, good luck Sneaky then, because Svenskeren is definitely scary, and he's even got that Infernal Drake ability power. So the damage output is there.
I remember when Infernal Drake, no one had seen the triple Drake yet, and TSM actually got the first triple Infernal in LCS. And I was just like, this is scripted.
They do a lot of damage. They do a little bit of damage overall. All right, so the game is a little bit closer than the previous. 4,000 different obviously is not small, but it is overcomeable, right, by C9. Jensen can kill 5 people in a team fight with a good chaos
They
storm.
can do more stuff because they have more than one initiation option that isn't negated by a champion. So even if they just had Meteos, it would still be okay, but they have Meteos and Jhin, so they're able to make long-range pick options available to them at all times.
The thing is that TSM has all their summoners up. It's going to take probably 2 engages to really get anything done. C9's comp isn't the stickiest comp in the world. I mean, they do have the Braum and the Jhin a little bit, but aside for those two, I mean, Gnar in there a little bit as well, but if TSM ever gets a disengage off, then it's going to be rough for C9. Assuming like they don't just completely back out, because TSM's punish is really strong with the Cassio, with the Elise, with the Lucian turning back.
But at least in this situation, C9 also has a split push pressure. Like they have the winning split pusher. So no matter how many more items he goes, Gnar will eventually beat down Shen.
Yeah, and on top of the fact that they do have really good wave clear, like Viktor is pretty much the premier like Ela wave runaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what makes them so obnoxious, because you can do a lot of mid lane rotations against other champions. Like even Cassio has to walk up a little bit farther to E all the minions down. But for Viktor, I actually tell people not to even rotate mid when you're against a Viktor, unless you have very strong catch like Bard, because it's very, very hard to break the tower.
Or you're going to dive him like C9 did earlier, right? Where they've got, you know, Elise gets the cocoon, he cleanses it, then Bard ultis, and they're on top of him anyway. Like, really
you have to do a
play.
very, very aggressive dive to be able to kill Viktor and deny his wave clear.
Yeah. Well, TSM did make that dive work earlier on in this game, and looks like they're still controlling the map. We're talking a bit less about mid lane right now, as they've just been killing minions back and forth the whole time, and it's pretty hard to miss them when your spells all do 800 damage, so seems they're just trading resources back and forth for now. TSM got themselves the most recent Drake, so an Ocean for them. More mana for Bjergsen, never sucks.
This should be a pretty big fight though, or maybe not. I thought that TSM was going to really try and swing behind the bot lane that was stuck up in the top side.
Right now, Cena's using Impact to split push, and Jensen's going to be able to get his own blue buff as well, so he's in a reasonable spot.
I think he's got two blue buffs this game. I think that's more than he got last game.
It might be, honestly.
2 more.
They almost caught Svenskeren.
Was it against TSM that Echo Fox had that stat where they only controlled 4 buffs?
Yes, I think
Probably.
so. That was an insane stat.
TSM's buff control is just so clean. They're just on top of it every time.
This is how I think they solved their mid game problem. Because before an earlier split, they sucked at mid game. They're one of the worst top level teams at mid game. However, now they just invade off buff timers, and they're super good at being able to work off the timers, invade, and get great vision as well. And so I think they've done like the best job of being able to adapt to that kind of style.
So Bjergsen pushes up, make sure he goes with Svenskeren, their duo lane or their top lane, you know, one of those lanes isn't doing well, so they can all kind of threaten to come down if they're not doing it right away. Bjergsen, yeah, being a big part of this one of the most dominant laners in North America, and yeah, willing to push up and roam on the right times. Buff timers being one of those, absolutely. All right, so let's move into other sort of categories here. Rylace and Morellonomicon actually to build out of Bjergsen. So he's got some CDR, he's got slows as well as part of his kit.
I think it's really standard. Before, you didn't build CDR on this champion because it gave you like a free 30
25
CDR.
Yeah.
But now, that's not the case. If you want to bring your equal down shorter to below 1 second, you need to actually have a lot of CDR. CDR scales very, very well with the champion. So I think Morello's makes a lot of sense. And Rylace, of course, makes a lot of sense because the
It's
very
Cassio.
well.
Yeah, your poison
Because
slow.
it's Cassio.
Yes.
Because, yeah, just Cassiopeia thing.
I like his option to skip Abyssal this game, and instead just sit on the Proto Belt, or sit on the Neg, and go straight to Rylace. So he has the extra utility. He doesn't need the defensive stats of Abyssal, and he doesn't really care about the magic or the MR Shred, even though he's got an Elise jungle. I think that's a really valuable thing, because during these fights, now he has a finished Rylace, he's able to do a lot more.
Right. Ooh, Meteos getting locked up. Bjergsen putting a ton of damage output now. They can't quite finish it off. Watch out for the Jhin.
Oh!
He might die. Yeah, he has to heal for that.
And look, that's the kind of pick that you can get with Gragas Jhin. Jin's able to catch the mid laner off at such a long range. Cassio can't do anything about it. All she could do was try to dodge.
You just know that if Meteos landed that body slam too, that would have been a pick off. It's really unfortunate he just shorted it, and then he decided not to ult the Cassio in because he missed the body slam. And Bjergsen's just able to live because of it.
If he had just immediately ulted, I'm sure Bjerg would have flashed, because he's fast enough to do that, but at least he would have blown flash for free.
Right, well, so what's concerning to me is that TSM was able to burn Jensen's flash, looking for that pick attempt a minute ago. I think what you'll see is TSM really focus vision control around Baron in the coming minutes and then try and get another pick onto Jensen with that down. So they're just going to keep shoving in mid and top side, trying to control that.
And we'll see if that ends up being the play right here. TSM definitely the team with control. Gold lead under 4,000. Just under it right now. Bjergsen, though, still heals himself all the way back up thanks to Ocean Drake, Bard, and his poisoned Twin Fang. As he keeps pushing on forward, he'll have his Seraph soon, and look at that, just control over the mid lane. As long as they don't get flanked, this will be another turret. Bjergsen controlling the mid.
Jensen's so scared of Bard ulti. He sat so far back there.
Yeah, with Jhin top, they really can't do much about that. If the Bard ult comes in, he's dead, so... I understand why I need to back off there. I can't help but think that maybe Sneaky shouldn't have been up there, because the wave was kind of fully neutral.
That seemed like a very poor decision by C9. Like, giving up mid lane towers are the things you want to do the least.
Uh-oh, Jensen gets away.
There's that side step from Jensen that we always talk about, and here C9 has a chance to turn it back.
Meteos should have ultied that.
All right, let's see what Cassiopeia is up to here in this one. Off the screen right now, getting tagged up, gets a Shen ulti. And blocks off one of the roots in. They get away from impact as well, and the fight started.
He dodges the taunt. It's okay. Oh, what a great ulti right there by Meteos.
All right, let's watch the mid lane as though Jensen just laying on the damage to the front line.
I mean, Hauntzer is able to, or Hauntzer goes down there, I mean, they weren't able to pick off impact off the Shen taunt, just being a little bit tanky and able to hop away. I don't think they can get much more than this mid turret unless TSM makes a mistake.
And they got a root onto Bjergsen, which means Meteos goes in, gets stunned.
But you see, I
love...
Wow.
Crit him.
I love this team comp. You got Jhin, Gragas to deal with the lower range mid lane threat. Low range, immobile mid lane threat. I think their comp is much better suited to deal with Bjergsen this game, and they knew even if he became a problem, they had the tools to deal with him.
Right, they also have a number of tanks in this comp. I mean, they can kind of trade off who's going in and who's available for Bjergsen to hit. Even though Bjergsen does do a great job melting frontline down, you'll see that like at various times, multiple people are the focus from TSM that don't die.
It should say something that they missed Impact's ulti completely and still won this team fight. You know, sure, Meteos landed a ridiculously good ulti.
So put a little on Jensen for me. Tell me everything he's doing in this fight.
He's just trying to walk over. He actually cleared the midway while this fight was going on. That's actually so greedy.
Well, he couldn't go through the Cassio field, and there he just waits for Meteos to surf him up and drops up.
But I would have preferred if he stayed laser for this point so that he could chunk Hauntzer more. I feel like going for mid-wave there is kind of really, really greedy by him. But, I mean, everything worked out well because Meteos was able to get the ulti. And not only that, Jensen landed the field at a really, really good point.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So he was able to basically land the field on the follow-up. So once he knocks them back, Meteos gets the ult in, he's able to just follow up with the W and hold them in place even longer. It's a pretty nice combo, but it's not the most guaranteed.
Right, I feel like the gravity field is one of the most underrated skills on him. It's like, oh, he gets the speed up with the shield, and he's gonna laser the whole wave down. Like, is one of the big skills of Viktor ensuring you're waiting on the right time for gravity field?
Well, just look at the enemy team comp. They have no gap closers that can really bypass it. Like, they have Shen time. That's it.
Right.
For the most part, you have to run through it on the enemy team, and Jensen can use it to great effect to just zone off TSM from coming in.
You've got to read when they want to.
Yeah, that's such an important thing to do.
Yeah, I think when you break it down, C9's comp is just able to have a lot more options. Their engage is better.
Look at this. Look at this. Jhin just ultis out of nowhere to try to pressure this.
600 damage.
And right there,
Oh, he gets tagged again.
Oh,
He'll live, but yeah.
Like, imagine if Jhin hit 3 of those shots, or even like, all 4. Then immediately heal has to be blown.
Yep.
Right, and so this kind of goes into what I was just saying about how C9's comp is able to do more. They win the split push. They both can get picks. C9 is better tanks, so they probably have a better team fight presence. And then on top of it, they are also equally good at kiting back. They have a lot of people who can kind of run away while also throwing projectiles in the other direction.
And a lot of times when you look at players and their jobs during the games, Jensen's job is fairly easy. He follows up on his team's initiation. That's it. He never has to flash to make plays unless it looks really good for him. You look at BJERG, his job is super hard. He has to dodge all the initiation thrown at him, and he still has to be primary DPS source and probably flash in to make impact.
Okay, that's the thing we got to watch for then.
Ooh, I'm surprised Sven used his Pro Belt in there. He's kind of caught out of position here.
Okay, fight started.
And BJERG's looking for an ulti right now.
Force the flash at a bunny. Ults across 3.
Nice one.
Ooh. He's hitting everybody, but so is Jensen
that's
right
such
now.
a nasty double stun.
Across.
Oh god, Biofrost played that really well. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get anything else off of it though.
Oh wait, did that really happen? I think Braum turned Bjergsen's ulti around. So he actually ulted the air. Yeah. Actually, I'd like to have a replay on that because that would be really funny. Because I was watching BJERG the whole fight because I was waiting. I'm waiting for his ulti. If he lands a good ulti, they win the team fight. He doesn't have flash, so he can't do it. So he can't do a flash ulti, so he has to just walk up and do it, and that's really, really good for C9.
Yeah, and you were talking about mentioning, or looking at Bjergsen. Pretty much every team fight, SCARA, I want you to tell me, pick a mid laner and tell me everything he's trying to do and what he should be doing.
Yeah, in that team fight, like I said before, Bjergsen has to make high DPS choices and has to look for ulti. And he has to dodge this initiation.
Well, he's slow and he's stuck in a gravity field.
And
it pulled him in!
And that's so lucky for BJERG, actually. Biofrost got pulled in first.
Yeah.
If he got pulled in and he died, C9 could just force Baron.
Yeah, and Jensen's ult was still on cooldown. I mean, if that play happens 10 seconds later, he's probably dead from that as well.
Yeah, it's so hard to be Cassio in this position.
Well, right now, Hauntzer going for the taunt, and you've got another fight coming on here, but it's a 4v5. How much is TSM going to be able to do with this one? Looks like they're... I mean, they got to pick one in the pit, right?
If TSM didn't have Cassio, this would be a free Baron. But now they have Cassio and they're missing Bard. C9 has to play very delicately because Cassio ult's coming up and Cassio flash is coming up. And if she flash ultis 2 people in the backline, she can just win the team fight.
You should win the team fight outright. All right, so things to be watchful for. Jensen, not much CDR. So this one is... So I guess we'll look for the Cassio turned around, I guess.
Just watch Cassio here and tell me if the Braum ulti turned her ulti or not. I would look because I was like, where was the Cassio ult this fight? And I saw it come out at the same time she gets Braum ulti. So right here, Bjergsen goes in for it. Right about... Oh, no, actually
he got it.
It actually doesn't. Oh, I thought it'd be super funny, but...
Man, you tripping.
But then he backs right off. After the ulti, he pretty much gets out of range for some of it. They get the one pick.
Yeah, he has to fight the team fight very, very delicately. By going in and out using Cassio's superior move speed. Because if he ever gets CC'd at any point during a team fight, he doesn't have cleanse. He just gets killed instantly.
Yeah, C9 have a really nasty chain CC where like Gnar can start it off into a body slam, into a Jhin route.
Oh, this is really hard as Cassio sometimes because if you stall out on items on Cassio, because she has so many necessary core items, like she needs CDR, right? She needs maybe a little bit of MR, she needs Rylai, she needs the tier upgrade, Seraphs. You don't get Void till like item number 4. And not having Void is such a bad problem in team fights when he gets this late. She really needs to be able to burn through MR tanks.
3 tanks to kill through. And actually, DoubleLift managed to pick off Impact with what looks like a Hauntzer ulti on the bottom side of the map, so that's something good for TSM.
Yeah, that's really troublesome for C9 because their whole thing is that they should be able to win the split push.
Oh, TSM just made a really, really unnatural call by having DoubleLift shadow their Shen. And I think C9 did not
I think DoubleLift was
at all.
sent to fight Impact because Shen ulted to join him.
Oh, if that's the case, then that's not as bad.
You mean not as bad from C9?
Yes. Like I can understand if C9 was all of a sudden randomly like, where's DoubleLift? And he shows up and kills bot lane. But if it's DoubleLift split pushing and then Hauntzer ultis in, I feel like that's on C9 to make the play.
Right, and here you're going to see that C9 can't really react to this Baron. It just goes down so fast. It's going to take a... I don't think they can even get... Oh, they're turning.
Meteos is dead.
I think this was really bad by C9. They gave up bot lane pressure for a free Baron. They didn't stay around long enough to know, because they got really, really scared of losing an inhib, so they backed up, and they lost not only people, they also lost Baron. So that last chain of plays just essentially lost them all control of the game.
I mean, yeah, from here, it's still hard for TSM to siege. They're pretty low range and not very mobile around turrets, and C9 obviously has really strong wave clear. But you can expect like the top outer or top inner to go down, and Hauntzer has his ult back up in a second, so they'll be doing probably a 4-1.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Bjergsen hit his Void timing. And like I said, it's really hard to hit this timing. If you're behind the other team, you need this timing as fast as you can. So now he has the damage to actually just kill the front line when they come in. And you know, if you get W on any of the tanks, they can't move.
Right, they can't get away. They all hop normally, and if they can't do that...
Then Bjerg can half health them in 2Es, 3Es.
Sure, yeah. Well, plenty of damage. I'm going to look at actual Bjergsen's total Twin Fang damage. If poisoned, it's 170 plus 310 for a poison benefit. That's plenty.
Yep.
And now another attempt for the bot side. Can't quite reach Sneaky, but, well, they've got bot lane control now. Or top lane, the bottom side of it. You know what I'm going for.
Yeah,
left out of the map.
I just like...
Because they're down here, and I'm like, yeah, it's the bot. No, it's not.
Yeah, C9 just gives up
under
his
the
outer.
top turret.
Right.
And then the big thing next is TSM's going to switch priority to bot side because Elder's coming up. And it's up to C9 to try to deny this. I don't know exactly. It's going to be really hard because everyone's top side, you know, Jensen's top side is specifically pushing this off. And C9's getting their wards up right now, but if they can't maintain vision control, TSM can just bait with Bard ulti and maybe get something.
I mean, the thing that's nice for C9 is a lot of their summoners are back up on their most important people. It's unfortunate that Impact doesn't have his, but they can still potentially take this fight just by hoping that TSM's initial pick attempt doesn't work out. And once that pick attempt's out, TSM's comp really doesn't have a great way of getting in.
Yeah, I think C9 has a lot of variables which can turn out very well for them. If Jensen lands a great ulti, if Impact lands a great ulti, if Meteos lands a great ulti, any of them land a great ulti, they can win the team fight right there. Whereas TSM, it's like, well, if Hauntzer lands a great taunt, and if Biofrost lands a big Bard ulti, like if the initial pick doesn't happen, it's really just up to BJERG and Hauntzer to be able to carry the team fight in terms of like very big playmaking.
Yeah, not always that easy then. So we look at Bjergsen's and Jensen's damage kind of being just the backline DPS and waiting for their teams to set up the plays, in both cases, it seems.
And BJERG's just getting poked down from range, and it sucks to be in this position without a creep wave because he can't heal back up.
Yeah, he's waiting for the single ocean tick, which is only so much.
Like, him being just DPSing the Elder Dragon, he's trying to heal, but he actually
hits him so hard. Yeah, someone's got to thank it for him.
While he does it, yeah. I mean, this is kind of risky for TSM. They're getting kind of low off this.
Yeah, oh, it's Svenskeren in a terrible spot.
One more snipe?
Oh.
You guessed wrong.
I think C9 might look to just go up mid here. They need to recall.
They've already got Hauntzer on that bottom inhib turret.
Oh.
Putting the whole time.
Oh,
so
TSM's gonna make the decision
TSM's
to
just
put
joining
bottom.
him.
Yeah, this is really smart by them. They lost mid-wave priority, but they make it doesn't matter. Make sure it doesn't matter by going
the
bot
thing
lane.
is, if C9 just cut them through the jungle, do they have the vision to do this?
I don't know. C9's actually mostly
I feel
recalling.
like
They're coming from the base.
There's no reason TSM should get this inhib and get out safely. They have to be punished for this play.
C9's trying.
Oh, he got stunned on the way. Wow.
Oh,
that was
misses.
That was a really weird ult by Biofrost. It wasn't really on top of anybody.
All right, well, it's fine what the backlines are up to. Jensen getting a laser across.
Jensen's a lot of their damage.
Pull in.
What a good ulti.
He's going to go
GA
down
pops.
to GA, though. There's a lot of GAs going off here, and it looks like TSM's going to win this fight. They've already picked off a number of the C9 players.
They might just push the end right here.
That was such a huge stun by Biofrost to interrupt the Meteos combo.
Yeah, if Bjergsen got knocked in, that was actually game for them, I think.
Yeah, but managed to play it really well as a support. They're out of minions, though. They got to wait for the next wave right here. But, yeah, defending a 2v5, not exactly easy.
Yeah, they should be able to end it here. They still have 20 seconds. The wave's only about 5 away.
The real danger is Jensen. Like, you cannot underestimate Viktor damage. He can actually kill instantly.
Can't find the route. Still 2v5.
He can't walk up because Hauntzer is on
Hauntzer plays that well. He just runs at the Jensen. He doesn't care if he gets low. Doesn't care if he dies.
He's even got flash.
Yeah.
There it is. Just make sure it happens. Nicely done by everybody. That's going to be the game.
It was a lot closer game. Like, up until they made that bad decision where they died bot lane and they lost Baron for it, I thought the game was very competitive because they found their win condition through Jhin and getting picks on Bjergsen, essentially. Yeah. And they were able to do it maybe once, but they weren't able to execute it completely. And, you know, I think it looks okay for C9. I don't think they're as good as TSM as they were just proven, but I think that they were at least able to find a way to win the game.
And it's interesting. We still had Jensen with a good scoreline, 3-2-1 in a losing team, right? He's not really dying for free almost ever, and when he gets into the fights, he's doing his job as well as he can, but it's once again Bjergsen with priority in his lane, coordinating super well Svenskeren, getting around the map, and you know, being part of things. 2-0-9, right? A deathless game, plenty of assists, just joining in what his team's already doing well. Yeah,
I mean, I think you have to give some accommodations to Jensen because he never really got ulted by Biofrost, which was like the big threat for him. TSM's comp looked like it was mostly going to have to function off picks, and Jensen never really got picked, which was a huge part. He lost his flash once, but he did sidestep the other one, so he did a really good job making sure he didn't put himself in a position. Yeah, and the reverse, Bjergsen actually was in very delicate situations multiple times. Yeah. Where he got Jhin in danger of Jhin ulti, in danger of Meteos stun. That bot lane, Bard stun stopping Meteos from pushing Jensen in or Bjergsen in was actually game winning. And if that had gone through, I think C9 would have just won the team fight.
Wow, so some very tight things, but you know, good plays by Biofrost to stop the engage coming in. Do want to let you guys know, by the way, that we will soon be having an interview with Bjergsen over on stage with Azale. So at some point I'll cut you guys off, but for now we can keep talking about the game until it is time for that one to happen. So yeah, it just felt like this was, you know, both mid laners playing quite well, right? They're still, you guys, I think both have them as the top 2 mid laners in NA. Is that accurate, actually? I initially, before we went on, argued that potentially Pobelter's ahead of Jensen for me. Okay. I think he just plays the map a little bit better. And we were saying, you know, it's kind of hard to know if that's his team. I think you can say that, like, Huni Reignover tend to win the top jungle synergy matchup a lot more than, say, Impact and Meteos.
But at the same time, Pobelter does seem to be in the right places at the right time, and there are certain situations where you think Jensen could maybe move around the map a little more.
And for me, Pobelter is like third, and it's very
Yeah.
close between the number 2, number 3. So it wouldn't matter for me where you end up placing either of the mid
Right.
laners.
Right. So either way, the point is, here's Bjergsen, here's a gap, and then here's a couple of other very good mid laners. Jensen, of course, one of them there in the upper echelon, just not the top tier. And again, it felt like he was doing fine against Bjergsen as an individual player. His team fights were played pretty well. Jensen clearly a stellar individual, but yeah, here's Bjergsen playing alongside a super top tier team and making very intelligent decisions constantly.
One person's playing like by himself, and the other person's playing with a team. That's how it feels. It's like he's making a lot of decisions that in a shell will be very good. His back timings aren't that bad by itself, but when it encompasses like team decisions, like macro level play, I feel like he just gets bettered by BJERG.
And the thing is, I mean, Bjergsen's been playing as pro for about twice as long, right? He started in spring 2013. Well, real quick, though, we are going to go over to the interview as Azael is standing by.